When it comes to video games, there's a lot of different genres I like. I'm a big fan of action-adventure games, first-person shooters, and sandbox RPGs. But one of the first genres I played that ever got me into gaming would be the real-time strategy games. I really enjoy taking command of huge armies, building them up, and then taking them into battle and fighting with them. Not only are these games fun, but they're also pretty challenging and don't hold your hand like a lot of other games do these days. So in this video, I want to give recognition to some of my favorite real-time strategy games. With that, let's get started with the top 5 RTS games. StarCraft was one of the first RTS games I ever got into, and man was it a lot of fun. You can play as 3 different factions and they're all unique in their own way, causing you to have to think differently depending what faction you fight, and it really keeps you on your feet as you play through. This was also one of the first games I got to experience online multiplayer, and man was that fun. Getting to play with other players and work as a team, or play against other players, was very interesting and new at the time, created some very intense gameplay. Now originally this was actually going to be a Warhammer 40k game. You can see the similarities in the Terrans and the Space Marines, the Protoss and the Eldar, and the Zerg and the Tyranids. I'm not entirely sure what happened between Games Workshop and Blizzard, but either way, instead of a Warhammer 40k game, we got this. Some people say that this game basically ripped off Warhammer 40k, and while there's a lot of inspiration there, I think they deviated enough from the original material to make it its own thing. And the fact that this game got so big that it actually became a national sport in places like Korea is very telling. While certain aspects of the game haven't aged well, I still think it's a lot of fun and I still play it from time to time. The genre has grown a lot since then, but this is the game that catapulted it into international fame. Lord of the Rings is a franchise that's easy to make video games out of, but one of the best in my opinion was without a doubt Battle for Middle-earth. One of the things I like so much about this game is how much of the map you got to fight on. You're not just confined to major battles, and it really gives you a good scope of how big the world really is. You basically get to fight in every inch of land between Helm's Deep and Mordor, and every place is pretty cool to fight in. I especially found it interesting to find places like Fangorn Forest and the Dead Marshes that do make appearances in the movies. The battles themselves are executed very well. You got a good range of units, and you get a lot of units, and the battles are very intense. Along with that, if you look to the left of the screen, you notice that you also get abilities that can assist you in battle. You still get to take part in all the major battles from the movies though. Helm's Deep, Minas Tirith, the Black Gates, you experience all of them, and all of them are fun and challenging. The building system is a little flawed, but I learned to work with it and it didn't ruin the experience for me. Battle for Middle-earth gives you the same feel that the movies did, and it puts you in the driver's seat as commander of the armies for Middle-earth. And since you get to fight across the entire map, it gives you a unique experience that you don't get with the movies. Warhammer 40k is a universe of constant war and brutality, and Dawn of War Dark Crusade capitalizes on it brilliantly. You get to choose from some of the universe's most popular factions and take them into battle. And all the factions are actually pretty close to how the actual lore is. The Space Marines are few in number but are very powerful. The Eldar have weaker units but are more agile. The Imperial Guard have very weak units, but a lot of them and a lot of firepower. Since every faction in this game operates very differently, it gives some good variety depending what your playstyle is. And the campaign is pretty good as well. You basically have to conquer every single faction, and the stronghold battles are especially interesting. Every stronghold battle has its own objectives, and they're all tough to get through. The Imperial Guard stronghold always stood out to me because of the amount of firepower that they throw at you. Multiplayer is very fun in this game as well. Playing against other people is very challenging, and you get to see people be very creative with their strategies. Dawn of War Dark Crusade is considered by many to be one of the greatest RTS games of all time, and with its structure it's easy to see why. It's enjoyable, all the factions are unique, and the gameplay is very fantastic. Ultimate General Civil War isn't the most popular strategy game out there, but it delivers. One thing I really like about this game is its use of terrain. If your troops are hiding in a group of trees, they have very good cover. If you're trying to cross water, they become very vulnerable. Similar mentality is used with hills. The higher ground you have, the better advantage you have. If you're trying to gain that ground, you could suffer more casualties. One of the aspects I like most about this game, though, is the resource management. Before every battle, you have a chance to upgrade and resupply your army. If you win a battle, you have more money that you can allocate to reinforcing your army, and if you lose a battle, you have less. Along with gaining more troops, you can also buy better weapons for each regiment in your army, ranging from better guns to better cannons. You also gain and rescue some weapons after every battle that you can allocate as well. You also have to be careful how you use your resources. You might be able to make 10 regiments, but if you can only properly supply 5 of them, you're gonna have problems. This game may not have the best graphics or the most factions, but it's one of the more realistic strategy games I played, and I like that about it. This was a bit of a tough one for me. There's so many good Total War games, and honestly this series deserves its own video. I chose Empire Total War because it's one of the most ambitious Total War games ever made, especially for when it came out. One of the things that always stood out to me is the vast number of factions you have to choose from. On top of that, you also have more battlefields and a bigger map to choose from than you did in previous games. Instead of just fighting in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, you also got to fight in North America. These additions in and of themselves are very impressive, but the biggest addition that I liked was the naval battles. Now, navies always existed in Total War before this game, but this was the first game where you actually got to take command of the battles themselves. And this was very interesting because unlike land battles where you could just move anybody wherever you want, you had to calculate the wind in this game for ship maneuverability. Some people had a problem with this because the battles would start out slow, but I got used to it, and once the battles got going, they really got going. This game also had a very large variety of army units, over 100 units easy, making each army their own thing and a variety of playstyles to play with. The battles themselves maintain that classic Total War feel of real-time strategy, and it's still fun. The series has progressed since this game, but this is the game that brought a lot of new stuff to the table that has stuck since. Now, I've only scratched the surface here. There's a lot of other great RTS games that need to be talked about, and if you would like me to talk about some of them, leave a comment below. Let me know what games you like. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it if you like it. And if you would like to see more, be sure to subscribe and don't forget to hit the bell for notifications. And if you would like to support the channel, you can do it through Patreon, PayPal, or Venmo. Links to all three will be in the description below. Again, thank you guys so much. Have a nice day.